goodness, you remember me?
Good evening. We'll get started in just a minute. We'll give the few folks that are still checking in with the ballot clerks a moment to do that, and then we will begin. Ask him to stop moving. What? Ask him to stop moving. All right, let's begin. So this is annual meeting session 1 of the Oyster River Cooperative School District, also known as our deliberative session. It is February 6, 2024, and we are in the concert hall of the Oyster River Middle School. I know you know that. I'm saying that for people who are not physically here with us in the room today. My name is Michael Williams. I am the school district moderator. For those who would like to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, let's do so now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. If anybody is a voter tonight and has not received a voting card from the ballot clerks, please come down to the front and see the ballot clerks that correspond to your last name. I would like to introduce those who are seated on the floor here. Starting from your right, we have Amy Ransom, Business Administrator, Diane Goro, District Attorney, Dr. Jim Morse, Superintendent, Tom Newkirk, School Board Member, Gianna Gelsey, School Board Member, Denise Day, School Board Chair, Matthew Bacon, School Board Vice Chair, Daniel Klein, School Board Member, and Heather Smith, School Board Member, and next to me, District Clerk Susan Caswell. We'll start with a special presentation by Gianna Gelsey.
Did you leave it on? Okay. All right, I'll be presenting the Distinguished Service Award. So this year's Distinguished Service Award goes to Amy Sterndale. The Distinguished Service Award is given to a member of the Oyster River community who has volunteered their service to our school community. We are pleased to award this year's Distinguished Service Award to Amy Sterndale. Amy is given to the Oyster River School District as a parent and Durham resident. However, this evening we are recognizing her for her unwavering commitment and dedication to improving on our communication practices. Amy volunteered many hours of her own time to bring her expertise in communications to the district as an integral member of the Superintendent's Communication Committee. As a key member of the committee, she created and presented information to the school board on multiple occasions. Her presentations laid the groundwork for district discussions around effective communication and the need for a communication coordinator. Amy guided the district as we embarked on our journey to design the communication coordinator position and collaborated with our team throughout the hiring process. Superintendent Morse writes, Amy has volunteered throughout my time as superintendent, as a parent, and as a communications professional. Her work over several years on the communications committee informed and organized the district's goals of improving our efforts to better communicate, to set priorities, and to reduce redundancy. Amy's expertise in communication was invaluable to our efforts. Jen Brown, Oyster River's communication coordinator, writes, Amy's commitment to the ORCSD community deserves to be celebrated. She has been a steadfast advocate for district students and families and a wonderful resource. Her generous support helped the district shape and implement its proactive communication practices. Former school board chair Michael Williams expressed, Amy has been extraordinarily generous with her time, expertise, and commitment. Just one example is when we were working to understand the district's communication needs and turn them into action. Amy stepped in to analyze thousands of pieces of input from parents, school staff, and community members, used her professional expertise to suggest both the what and the how of a path forward, and then served as an interim volunteer communications manager, working with administrators to improve practices and hire a dedicated communications specialist. Along the way, Amy approaches every situation with grace as an opportunity to learn and share in ways accessible to everybody. It was Amy's contribution that really moved communication practices forward. I enjoy working with Amy, and I'm always extremely impressed with her work, whether it's coaching on emails or making sure hundreds and hundreds of brownies get to the right places around exam time at the high school, or any of the other myriad ways she has helped our school community over the years. I can't say enough thanks to Amy. We are very fortunate to have Amy as a member of our community, and we are excited to celebrate her dedication and commitment to Oyster River with our Distinguished Service Award. You want to come up here, Amy? Amy.
All right, congratulations, Amy, and thank you. All right, let's get to work. Our task this evening, according to state law, is to explain, discuss, and debate each warrant article. The results of our work tonight will be presented to voters on the ballot on March 12th. We will not follow Robert's Rules of Order tonight. My goal as moderator will be to keep the meeting moving courteously and within state law to reflect your intent as a legislative body of the school district and to avoid procedural quagmires. This really is your meeting, and you can overrule any decision I make by calling it to our attention as a point of order, and if we don't agree, we'll vote to determine the way forward. We're going to read each warrant article. It will be moved and seconded, and then it will be explained by one of the school board members. Any questions can be answered or amendments proposed. We'll vote on any amendments, and then the warrant article will be moved to the ballot, and we'll move on to the next item. If you'd like to speak on any of the articles, please come down to the microphone here. After I've recognized you, give your name and which town you live in. We have to record that in the minutes. And after you speak on an issue, we'd like to give everybody else who wants to speak on that topic their opportunity before anybody speaks a second time. Any motion to end discussion or to move to a vote requires a second and a 2/3 vote to do so. And if you would like to propose, let's see, if you'd like to propose an amendment or change any of the warrant articles, please bring that in writing also so that we, myself and the clerk, have exactly the wording that you intend. There are certain amendments, certain articles that we cannot amend. We cannot change the subject matter of any article, and some have wording which by law cannot be changed. So we will normally vote by a show of voter cards, by holding your voter card up in the air. In the event that a vote is close or not clear, I may ask for another method of voting. So you must be a registered voter in Lee, Durham, or Madbury to present a motion, to second, or to vote tonight. All right. The materials that we're considering were posted. I have a posting statement here. It says, I certify that on January 23rd, 2024, I posted the MS-26, the default budget, and the written warrant attested by the school board of the Oyster River Cooperative School District in the town of Durham at Oyster River Middle School and Oyster River High School, the place of meeting, in the town of Lee at the Mastway School, and in the town of Madbury at the Moheramet School. It's signed by Wendy DeFrucio, and it is notarized. Beginning with the warrant. To the inhabitants of the Oyster River Cooperative School District of Durham, Lee, and Madbury qualified to vote upon district affairs, you are hereby notified to meet at the Oyster River Middle School in said district on the 6th day of February 2024 at 7 o'clock in the evening for session 1 of the annual school district meeting for discussion of articles 3 through 7 and for any amendments thereto. Warrant articles whose wording is prescribed by law shall not be amended, and no warrant article shall be amended to eliminate the subject matter of that article at session 1. Official ballot voting for the school district officers, Articles 1 and 2, and on Articles 3 through 6 will occur at town polling locations on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Town of Durham at the Oyster River High School from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., the town of Lee at the Lee Public Safety Complex from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and in the town of Madbury at Madbury Town Hall from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, I understand there is a clerical correction.
Yes, there are 3 clerical corrections that I would like to make a motion to correct. So my motion is to correct the 2024 warrant article by shifting the heading so that the second line begins the word "the state." Currently it's up top. And then in paragraph 3, change the number 6 to 7. And in Article 7, at the end of the first sentence, change the word funds to fields.
Okay, so we have a motion from Denise Day and a second from Matthew Bacon to make those clerical corrections. So the first of the 3 is a cosmetic change to the header. The second is to correct. The third paragraph says Articles 3 through 6. We want to change that to say 3 through 7 because there are 7 articles. And then a correction to Article 7 where the word funds is being changed to field, and we will look at that more closely towards the end of the meeting. Is there any discussion on these corrections? All those in favor of this amendment, please show by raising your voter cards. Anybody opposed to the amendment, raise your voter card. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. Article 1 is to choose a moderator for the coming year. And Article 2 will be to choose 3 school board members, 1 each for Durham, Lee, and Madbury for the ensuing 3 years. Article 3 will be presented by Heather Smith.
What do they think, I'm Goldsmith tall up here? All right. Warrant Article 3, the budget. Shall the district raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $56,248,037. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $55,929,305, the default budget, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the district or by law, or the district may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman numeral 10 and Roman numeral 16, to take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. The school board recommends this appropriation. A majority vote is required. The note is the Fund 10 quantity is $54,415,352, or the regular operating budget. Fund 21 equals $1,191,685. That is the expenditures from food service revenues. Fund 22 totals $600,000. That is expenditures from federal special revenues. And Fund 23 equals $41,000, the expenditure through pass-through funds. Yes. I move that we approve the article, or am I approving?
We have a motion to move Article 3 to the ballot. We have a second from Denise Day. Explain the article?
Yep. So before we get into the dollars and cents, I thought I would take the opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing in the past year. So some of our highlights from the district. The high school has a 99% high school graduation rate. It has a 100% special education graduation rate, 83% college placement rate. Our graduates move on to great things. 65% of them go towards a 4-year college program, 14% of them towards a 2-year college program, 19% join the military or the workforce, and 2% of them pursue a technical program or take a gap year. The high school has a high aggregate SAT score of 1119 with a 95% participation rate. And I'm drilling down on that a little bit. 61% of our students met or exceeded the SAT math benchmark, compared to 35%, which is the state average. If we look at some of the other data we have, this is through STAR testing data. We're looking at elementary reading as the first block, elementary math as the second set of blocks, middle school reading is the third set of blocks, and middle school math is the final set of blocks. Each block corresponds to the end of year spring assessment. So spring 21 is the orange color, spring 22, apparently I fat-fingered that guy, is the green color, and spring 23 is the yellow color. And what you're looking at is the percent proficient. And what we look at as the years have passed past COVID, our percent proficient has increased with over 80%, with the exception of middle school reading, this past year in the spring. So 80% of our students are proficient in math or reading at both the elementary and middle school levels. The district enrollment by school, we have 331 folks at Mastway, 298 small chaotic bodies at Moheramet, 621 students at middle school, and 841 students at the high school, for a total of 2,111 students in the district, and that includes 185 tuition students in the high school and 20 preschool students in the overall total. By town, we have 893 from Durham, 698 from Lee, 315 students from Madbury, 182 from Barrington, and 3 from other locations, and that is a total of 2,091. So that's sort of the district by the numbers. I surveyed the principals a bit today and got a lot of really great things to tell you guys. So each school has chosen a theme this year. Mastway's theme is This Land, where they're looking at the land in its past, how it's used today, and how they preserve it for the future. Moheramet's theme is Year of the Water, where they're looking at the science of water, but also its importance globally. At the middle school, they're building a Bobcat community with the unity capitalized, and working on building connections and community within the school. And at the high school, their theme this year is Empowering Positive Pathways, leaning into exploring students' areas of passion and finding ways to explore those further, whether that's through participation in CTEs or extended learning opportunities or ELOs. Our students are creators. We have 22 middle school VEX robotics teams. 6 of them went to Worlds last year. At the high school, the first robotics group gained 22 new students, and they have their big competition at the end of March at UNH. At the high school, 17 students were recognized for the Scholastic Art Competition, with 9 gold keys awarded. You can view that art at the Durham Public Library at the beginning of March. The Mouth of the River, the high school newspaper, was awarded 2nd place in the New Hampshire Press Association's Distinguished Journalism Content Award. We have a district of performers. This past January, we had 92 students participate in the cast and crew of the middle school's production of Oliver Jr. This past fall, the high school drama presented Arsenic and Old Lace, and this spring we have 3 productions coming up. At the high school, we'll have the musical Little Women, Masked Way is presenting Wonka Jr., and Mohammed is presenting Finding Nemo Jr. There are numerous concerts for all of our music students, as well as poetry readings and music being performed at things like the Mouth of the River coffee houses. We are a district of athletes. Our Oyster River High School girls volleyball, girls tennis, unified volleyball all won state championships in the last year. Girls cross country not only won the state championships, they won the meet of champions and then placed 2nd in all of New England. We have students who are mentors and teachers. We have a high school senior leading an art club at Mohammed. We have a great project going on at Masked Way where students are looking at building sustainable schools and coming up with frameworks for that, and then building on that by connecting to the Middle School Sustainability Club to come and explore what the middle school aspects, the sustainable aspects of the middle school are. We have 8th grade science students mentoring 5th grade science students, and those same 8th grade science students are going to come to Mohammed and participate in one of the Year of the Water days. And then rounding all of that out in just the terms of general awesomeness, we have 3 students who received letters for commendation for National Merit Scholarships. We have 1 student who was selected as a candidate for the Presidential Scholars Program, and 1 Oyster River Middle School student who was sworn in as the 2024 New Hampshire Kid Executive Counselor. So lots of really, really cool stuff going on. No slide for that, because it's super cool. All of this ties in to our mission as a district to work together to engage every learner. And the budget is that financial articulation of our goals in support of that mission. And all of those budget items tie into bits and pieces of our strategic plan, and that connection happens in a multitude of ways. And I would like to talk about 4 of them in specific today. The first is mental health, the second is curriculum, the third is facilities, and the fourth isn't technically in the strategic plan, but I'm going to lump it all together in sort of operations. And so for our budget this year, what we're presenting is we're talking about adding a mental health counselor in support of our mental health goals. We're talking about continuing our growth with music and arts in curriculum with the addition of a strings music teacher. In our facilities plan, we have the previously voted upon middle school bond increase. We're also looking at continuing air conditioning the high school by adding the air conditioning in the cafeteria and the multipurpose room. And we've started beginning plans for, we're going to do some planning for the Masked Way cafeteria expansion. And then our final group of operations, that is going to be increases due to contractual agreements, the health insurance increase we're seeing this year, and the utility increases. So drilling down on those specifically, the first box was our mental health counselor. We really started to think about this in earnest back last year when we saw the results of the 2021 Youth Risk Behavior Survey. That is a survey that is, looking for a word, not proctored, give me the word. Conducted, thank you, by the CDC. Sorry, not all the words come to me all the time. Conducted by the CDC in the fall and winter of 2021 at both the high school and the middle school. And some of the top-level results we saw is that within those age groups, at the middle school, the 7th and 8th graders were surveyed, 33.5%, and at the high school, 38.3% of our students reported that they felt sad or hopeless every day for 2 or more weeks. 25% at the middle school and 20% at the high school reported having serious thoughts about killing themselves. And 45.5%, this question wasn't asked of the middle schoolers, 45% at the high schoolers said they reported never or rarely getting help when they needed it or when they felt sad, empty, hopeless, anxious, or angry. So that's the data we got from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. We're seeing that continually, locally, both the high school and the middle school are seeing increases in the number of students seeking the on-call counselor. Both the middle school and the high school are seeing increases in the number of risk assessments and the number of referrals for depression and anxiety. So we place this as an urgent need within our district, and we hope you support that. The second position we are looking to add this year is the strings music teacher. The strings program was started 10 years ago and has grown quite a bit. Over the entirety of the district, we have in the band program 237 kiddos at middle school band, 155 kiddos in strings, and 155 students in middle school chorus. At the high school, that band number is 36. At the high school, the strings is 58 and 15 for chorus. Of that student population, for band, we have 3 staff servicing all of those band students. We have a 1+, so we have a full-time staff member and then a helper of sorts or an assistant of sorts helping with the strings program, and we have 1 faculty member for chorus. The string staffing in particular is unsustainable. We have 1 staff member doing report cards and budgets and progress reports and all of those things for that many strings students. A second full-time staff position allows that all to be split out and would also allow for a better differentiated instruction for our string students at the high school and to continue the growth of this really successful program. So back to the numbers. So for our budget increases this year, we have health insurance. Our GMP, or guaranteed maximum price, increase is a 15.1% increase. That is considerably larger than it has been in the recent past, although it is lower than some other districts having this conversation across the state today. We estimate that financial impact to be in the range of $1 million. The Guild is on the 5th year of its contract for an increase of about $709,000. The Respite Guild is on year 3 or 4 of their contract for $77,000. The ORPAS is an increase of $136,000. ORAA is about $96,000 an increase. And the middle school bond, which was all part and parceled when we voted for the middle school, is an increase. This is the last bump due to the bond increase of $583,000. That all in the orange box, those are all contractually obligated, and they will also be included in the default budget. In that little gray box at the beginning with our sort of operations bit, the biggest hitter on that one, the last one not included in the default budget, is utilities. We estimate that increase to about $210,000. Largely that is due to the electric rate changing and increasing. And then the 2 positions we just talked about are listed, mental health counselor and the strings teacher. To help offset some of that increase, we have identified additional revenues, as shown here, from tuition, increased interest, the school nutrition balances itself. We will be using some of the money from the health insurance trust fund. That's a savings account of sorts that we set up that when we have these spikes in the insurance rate, we can draw from to help stabilize the tax rate. The special education trust fund similarly, the EFA, and then an additional amount in retained fund balance. And this is above and beyond the revenues that we identify year over year annually, such as tuition from the Barrington students, interest, food service, et cetera. So how does that break down? I read all of these fabulous numbers at the beginning in the warrant article. There they are listed again. If we take the general fund or Fund 10 and break that down a little bit further, you're going to see that about 78% of our operating budget is tied up in salaries and benefits. We are a people organization. The rest break down in supplies, equipment, bond payment services, and things categorized as others. And so that amount, the $56,248,037 is what's on the warrant, and that's what we're going to be voted on. But we'd really like to know what that means for our taxes, and so we're going to try and estimate that. So we take the budget we have, we're going to add all the warrant articles that are up and proposed to get the overall total change. We're going to subtract off any identified revenues, and that is going to be the total amount that we apportion. That total amount gets split out between the 3 towns, as shown. And that happens through the Department of Revenue's apportionment formula, which is a function of the student membership from each town and the equalized valuation of each town. From there, the state says we have a certain amount of adequacy that's going to be provided, a number based on the number and times the number of students that are in from each town, increasing for free and reduced lunch, special education students, and English language learners, and that gives us the state contribution towards an adequate education, or the adequacy amount. That adequacy amount is split into 2 chunks. The first chunk is shown in each block. That is the state grant. The second chunk is rolled into the bottom block because it is assessed as a local property tax. So that is the state property tax for education. The balance of that gets assessed in a local property tax. So from there, sort of breaking out all of those numbers, we estimate that the tax impact per $1,000 will be 40 cents in Durham, 82 cents in Lee, and 97 cents in Madbury. And these, again, are all estimates based on all the warrant articles. The actual tax rate gets established in September and October of 2024. But historically, how well have we done? So if you're a tabular type person, you're going to enjoy the table on the left. If you're a visually type person, you're going to enjoy the table on the picture on the right. On the bottom axis, we have the projected tax rate. That's what we think it's going to be when we present it to you all in February. The actual tax rate is on the vertical axis. That's what it actually is turned out to be. And the black dashed line is what happens when we get it exactly right. So if we are doing a good job, we're going to be as close to that line as possible and hopefully a little bit under, which is what you see for most of the data. Durham is the magenta dots, Lee is the blue squares, and Madbury are the teal triangles. Things that are very far from the line on the downside, those are typically reevaluation years where it's hard to go one-to-one and compare. Durham just did that, so the projected, when we had this conversation last year, we had projected the tax rate would be $19.36 per thousand, and because of the reevaluation, that rate actually went down to $13.15. And so that dot is way down at the bottom. So reevaluation years fall off that line. But in general, if you're looking at the patterning, most of the time we are very close to the line, and generally we are under the line, meaning the tax impact is a little lower than what we usually predict. So back to the budget. The proposed budget is shown. The default budget and how that breaks down is also shown here. The difference between the two, should the proposed budget fail and the default budget be our budget, the difference is $318,732 less. And with that, I am done.
Is there anybody who would like to discuss or speak to the budget motion, Article 3?
I'm Dean Rubine from Lee. See everybody tonight. It looks like the board from the difference between the default budget and the asked budget was $318,000, and the sum of the things that weren't boxed, weren't part of the default budget, were $440,000 or so. So it seems like the district cut something. Is that a fair conclusion, and what might that be?
So what I failed to mention when we were talking about the, one of the things that is incorporated in that is that we did have a retirement incentive that we have rolled into this year's numbers. So the expenses for the proposed 2025 budget is less due to the retirement incentive.
But those people aren't coming back, so why? So they're part of the default budget?
So that's, I'm going to defer to Amy because that becomes default budget magic.
Sorry. So the way that the superintendent and the administration worked was we took the retirees and we knew what their savings were going to be. So we reduced the default budget by that because we understood that the employees that would be hiring to replace them would more than likely come in at a lower step-in track. And we also had some health insurance savings on what the outgoing employee was electing and what we're anticipating the incoming employee will be electing. Oh, sorry.
You can't hear this one either? Okay.
Maybe get a little closer, but I think the answer was it was more on the benefits and health insurance side than the salaries.
As a replacement on the salaries, it was possible that you could have somebody at the top of the step-in track, and we would replace them with a newer graduate, maybe a master's 5 versus a master's plus 30 with 16, 17 years of experience.
So it's just basically good district savings, and
yes.
Thank you for that. And thank you.
Folks in the seats, could you hear that response from the business administrator?
It's not going.
Yes, no?
Ish.
Ish.
Hi, I'm Eric Turcott from Lee, and I just have a quick question for you guys on the budget. There are a bunch of acronyms. For those of us who aren't in this part of it, what the heck is ORSPA, ORPAS, and ORAA? Just so we know what they are.
That was Eric Turcott from Lee. Yes. All right, so the guild is the Teachers Guild. ORSPA is, I honestly don't remember what all the acronyms. I didn't put it on my cheat sheet. Sue, do you remember?
Is there another board member or business administrator like to provide that information? That doesn't exist anymore.
So ORSPA has custodians, secretaries, and then ORPAS,
The paras.
food services, food nutrition. ORAA is Administrators Association, and then Guild is the teaching the faculty, the certified licensed faculty. Does that help? Yeah.
Could everybody hear that answer from? No. No. All right, would you like to repeat that, please?
Oh, I can try. All right, so ORSPA is, I'm going to go backwards because I remember backwards first. ORAA is the administrators, ORPAS is the paras globally, and then ORSPA is the food service custodians, secretaries. And ORPAS includes child nutrition.
Is there further discussion on Article 3? If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on Article 3. All those in favor of moving Article 3 to the ballot, please raise your voter cards. Anybody who is opposed to Article 3, please raise your card now. The yeses have it. Article 3 is moved to the ballot. Next up, Article 4, which will be presented by Dan Klein.
Good evening, everyone. Dan Klein. I would like to move warrant article number 4, which reads as follows. Shall the district vote to approve within the provisions of New Hampshire RSA 273-A:3 the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between Oyster River Intervention and Tutors Association and the Oyster River School Board, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. Year 24-25, $139,846.63. Year 25-26, $35,219. Year 26-27, $18,695.59. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $139,846.63 for the 24-25 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increases in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. School Board recommends.
We have a motion from Board Member Klein. Is there a second? We have a second from Matthew Bacon. Would you like to explain that article?
Sure. Okay. So this is this contract would represent our newest bargaining unit within the district. Brief history of our tutors. Our tutors were brought into the district largely initially through grant funds during the pandemic to offer additional supports to our students as they came out of and recovered from the impacts of the pandemic. Frankly, a lot of the academic gains that Heather referred to in her presentation since COVID are attributable to our tutors. They serve students throughout the district at all of our schools. They were primarily brought in to address a specific, at least general grouping of students whose needs might not qualify them for an IEP or a 504, a formal special education needs plan with resources, but they might need periodically throughout the school year additional supports to maintain their academic proficiency. And so, again, an incredibly effective group of professionals. This contract, if approved, you see in year one is the most significant increase in costs. The drivers of that increase start with an expansion of their workday, which qualifies them for the New Hampshire retirement program. We add health insurance and a wage increase to be consistent with current markets. One of the challenges the district routinely faces, especially with inflation, is keeping competitive within the job market, retaining our professionals, reducing turnover, and keeping the same folks working with our kids year in and year out. And I think that about covers it. Are there any questions?
I'm still Dean Rubine from Lee. We see this form of warrant article every year for various bargaining units, and I'm going to ask the same question I think I always ask, or I'll continue to ask, which is, do we know how many, in this case, tutors and interventionists this covers, what their total wages are, what their total benefits are, what other costs we have associated with them, so we can put these numbers in some context? And I'll go back and
Amy, can I punt to you on that? Dean is asking for specifics on numbers of tutors, their total line, current wages.
Benefits.
This would add benefits, so that's one of the drivers of the first year, which is why it's much higher. It's very front-loaded. And did I miss, was there another?
Other costs, FICA, whatever, normal, this is this is some small percent of some bigger number, and I'm just trying to get
Right.
some idea of what that bigger
So
number is.
there are 11 tutors in the agreement when the agreement first started, when we started negotiating. So in that number is their increase to the salary, but New Hampshire retirement, which they didn't qualify before, is 13.53% the employer pays, and they pay 7% out of their wages. As Mr. Klein had stated, it has a longer workday, but we don't have separated out for this how much they're making now versus what the increase is. I don't have that available, if that's the question, what the difference is between the two, what they're making now and what this.
So we don't know what percent raise we gave these people? We just threw money at them?
Dr. Moore, should we come up with an exact percentage that it was market value based on education, depending on years of service? It was across the board different for everybody.
Yeah, because it's a new contract, Dean, each person ended up with a different percentage. Overall percentage is probably around 5 or 6%, but each individual, based on where their salary was this year and where they would be placed next year, that changes that percentage.
I guess I'm not particularly asking about the tutors in general, but in general, when we see these numbers, it would be nice to know sort of the salary base and the other bases that these are increments of. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion on Article 4?
Krista Butts, Lee. I'm hoping I'm not going to lose my job, but you got my back, right? So I am currently, you have to follow along. It's very complicated. I started the year as the math interventionist at Oyster River Middle School, and I'm finishing the year as a 7th grade math teacher on the timber team. But I am currently the vice president of the ORCSD Association. So I just wanted to make the point that right now you have most of the 11 people who are holding this position are certified teachers. And when I say most, it includes three that aren't certified, 2 of which are working towards certification and very close, and 1 which is working towards that as well. But we're talking about certified teachers that are teaching kids who are very needy and very, they require these services in order to maintain classwork benchmark levels. And we are paying them approximately between $24 and $32 an hour, which is significantly lower than what the Teachers Guild gets for their hour. Well, if you were to calculate hourly rate, they're not hourly. But this would bring those particular professionals to a salary range and allow them benefits that they don't have. They currently have less paid holidays than any other hourly employee in the district. And the benefits that they will be receiving in this contract don't include family benefits. It's just single and 2-person benefits. So when this contract was created, it was created at a very minimum, I would say minimum but fair contract, and everybody was pretty happy with it. So I just would appreciate your support on this contract.
Thank you. Further discussion on Article 4? If there's no more discussion on Article 4, I'll call for a vote on Article 4. Those in favor of moving Article 4 to the ballot, please raise your voter card. Those opposed to Article 4, please raise your voter card. Article 4 passes. We'll move to Article 5, which will be presented by Matthew Bacon.
Good evening. Warrant Article 5. Shall the district vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $125,000 to be added to the Facilities Development, Maintenance, and Replacement Trust, which was established in March of 2017. This sum to come from June 30 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st. The school board recommends this appropriation. And Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to pass the warrant as presented.
All right, is there a second on Article 5? have a second from Mr. Newkirk.
And just a very brief explanation, this would be the 4th year of a 7-year solar contract. This is a fund we're establishing. Currently, the solar units on the top of this building and above the parking lot outside are subsidized by another company. I hope that's the right word. And at the end of the 7 years, the school will be in a position to purchase, which would mean that all of the financial benefit of having solar energy will come to the school as opposed to the company that currently is receiving the financial benefit. This has been passed 3 times. This would be the 4th payment out of 7 total. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. That was you. Sorry.
Is there any discussion on Article 5?
Hi, Lauren Selig from Durham. I'm curious, this doesn't impact this, but we've had a lot of benefit from the solar panels besides just the cost savings for energy. Like, for example, when the buses are able to be under it during snow events and whatnot. I'm curious if anyone has compiled data of how much money we've saved in overtime costs and other things by having the solar, and whether it's something we should investigate adding solar fields to other buildings.
Do you have an answer to that, or should we direct it to the superintendent?
I would have to direct it to the superintendent.
Thanks, Lauren. We haven't done that specific analysis, but we do know that the more snow days we have and the more time we put our buses under the canopy, the less labor we use. Historically, when we didn't have the solar canopy, our drivers would be coming in very, very early in the morning, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., to start cleaning off the buses. It's not exactly the healthiest thing to be doing in trying to clear off a bus when you're, a bus driver. So the canopy has turned out to be really quite a gift to our readiness after a snow event, because we probably spend collectively 3 hours getting all of the buses ready to go out, as opposed to coming in at 1 o'clock in the morning. It has been a financial savings related to labor. I just never have taken the time to calculate it out, but it's very easy to do based on the number of snow days we have.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak to Article 5?
John Caldwell of Durham.
Did you
not
get
necessarily
the name?
on.
Say your last name one more time.
Caldwell, C-O-L-W-E-L-L.
Thank you.
Not necessarily on Article 5, but are Articles 4 through, point of clarification, Articles 4 through 7, are they already in the Article 3 budget, or are these in addition to the Article 3?
They would be in addition to the article, but the money that would be transferred into this account would come from, let me make sure I get this right. We are currently in the 23-24 fiscal year. This budget that we presented this evening is for the 24-25 fiscal year. This $125,000 would come from the savings and the available fund balance at the end of the 23-24 fiscal year.
Okay, so this is unspent funds from 23-24 that will just be allocated for
Correct.
future use. Okay,
correct.
Thank
And
you.
we've already done it 3 times. This would be the 4th. And then at the end of the year, the end of the 7-year contract, all of the money to purchase the solar panels would be available, and no new warrants would have to be put into place.
And that same logic applies to Articles 4 through 7.
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's not really my place to correct that statement, but Article 4 is different because that was the collective bargaining. Is there a member who'd like to speak to that?
5, 6, and 7?
To clarify?
Yes, it's 5, 6, and 7, not 4.
5, 6, and 7, not 4.
So that applies to
I missed what you said.
Business Administrator Ransom.
Article 4 gets added to Article 3, but when Heather Smith was doing her overall presentation of Article 3, the tax impact she used included Article 4.
So the answer that from Superintendent Morris is that the amounts in Article 4 are in addition to Article 3. However, the presentation from Board Member Smith on the total spending and tax impact included both Article 3 and Article 4. Articles 5, 6, and 7 are not included in that. Is there further discussion, questions on Article 5?
Never got this big.
Hello, I'm Joe Friedman from Durham, and I'm wondering if you've estimated the cost to operate once you purchase the solar facility, and also who will be doing the operating and maintenance of that facility.
So the question is if we've estimated the cost and how we would be doing operation and maintenance of the solar facility after purchase.
Yes.
Business Administrator Ransom?
So after the district purchases the solar panels, the district will be responsible for the maintenance of the solar panels. The solar panels, correct me if I'm wrong, are already included in the cost of the bond for the middle school, so there won't be an additional cost to purchasing the, I'm sorry, what did I want to say? It is already included, so it won't be an additional cost after we buy them because we will have purchased them after the 7 years.
I think also, Joe, the answer to your question is like every other part of our facility, there'll be maintenance involved and panels will fail over time and be replaced. That all will fall on the district at that point.
Yeah.
Can I follow on with a question? Will you do an evaluation in the 7th year to understand the condition before you purchase?
Well, yes, we would. The panels are designed to last 25, 30 years, so we should be in really good place. We'll do the inspection. When we were building the new middle school, and these numbers have not been updated, the potential savings over the 20 years of school ownership was around $2 million.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions or discussion on Article 5? If there are none, then I will call for a vote on Article 5 to move Article 5 to the ballot. All those in favor of moving Article 5 to the ballot, please raise your voter card. All those who are opposed to moving Article 5 to the ballot, please raise your voter card. Article 5 is passed to the ballot. Next up, Article 6, which will be presented by Tom Newkirk.
Warrant Article 6, shall the district establish an artificial turf field replacement expendable trust fund under the provisions of RSA 198:20-C for replacing the district's artificial athletic turf fields and raise and appropriate up to $125,000 for this purpose, with such amount to be funded from the year-end undesignated fund balance, and further to name the school board as agents to expend from the artificial turf field replacement fund. Majority vote required. I move Article 6.
We have a motion from Mr. Newkirk on Article 6 and a second from Ms. Smith.
Great, thank you. The principle behind Article 6 is similar to the principle behind Article 5, is you anticipate a major expense down the road, and you're trying to put away money so that when you come to that expense, you don't have this major impact upon the budget. So if you're looking forward to the replacement, the dates of the replacement of the two fields, the two artificial turf fields, the high school field will need to be replaced at approximately, and this could vary, these are the dates I got from the athletic director, probably 2028 to 2029, that year. And since the middle school field is newer, it will need to be replaced 2034 to 2035. So we know we're going to have these big expenses down the road. And so this warrant article enables us to put money away, if it's available, in the unexpended balance, so that when it comes, it won't be such a hit to the budget, and so it won't mean that other budget needs we have will just have to put aside just so we can hit that big amount. And the amount is big. There are various figures, in this, you'll need to get more exact figures, obviously, when you get closer to the time. The figure that was given to me was $850,000 per field. That could be lower, higher, depending on what materials you use. There may be new materials by that point. It could be higher or lower, depending on whether you reuse the fill. And that's about the extent of my knowledge of replacement of turf fields. So it's variable, but it's going to be big. So this enables us to put money away so that we can deal with those large expenses when they come due. One of the pieces of good news is that our current high school bond on the field for the high school, that was constructed with a bond, and that will be paid off in 2026, 2027. So there'll be some money available at that point, and that will, I think, alleviate some of the pressure. But what this does is it helps us prepare for a time when we're going to have major expenses to replace both these fields. So, questions?
John Parsons, Durham. I note that Article 5 deals with facilities development, maintenance, and replacement, which we established several years ago. Article 6 deals with the artificial turf field replacement. And Article 7, athletic field revolving fund. We've also got a track down there, which also is going to need replacement at some point, hopefully not for a while. But I am wondering which fund that replacement is intended to come out of.
I don't have any.
That would be 7, which I will be presenting shortly.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are there further questions or discussion on Article 6?
Dean Rubina Lee, I have a few questions. Is there a reason that there's a separate fund in Warrant Article 6 and 7? They both seem to be concerned with collecting money from fields and for fields.
We'll direct that question to the business administrator.
So the warrant article 6 is specifically for the replacement of the turf fields themselves, to set aside money because of the cost of the fields. When we get to Article 7, that talks about the fees that we take in for the use of the fields. That will be used to maintain the fields. It won't be enough money to replace them, but if there's any small repairs, maintenance that need to be done on the fields themselves, that money that we collect in fees will be used to offset that expense to the district.
Is there a reason to have two separate funds?
Because when we get to Article 7, that's a revolving fund. That money will go in every year. That won't have to come back up to the voters once it has been established. It will continue to run. This one is every year the voters have to agree to appropriate the $125,000 or whichever number the board decides to put into that fund each year.
I'll allow other questions. Right? That's fine if you want.
Are there any, would anybody else like to discuss or ask questions about Article 6? Go ahead, Mr. Irvine.
We paid $2.3 million, I think, for the first field, and this replacement cost is $850,000. It seems a lot less.
So that replacement would be for the infield and the carpet, not necessarily placing a brand new field, which is what when you originally put in, you put a brand new field in. So you had to do all of the site work and all of that. This is to do the carpet in the infield. And if you can recycle some of what's in the turf field, you can have some cost savings.
It also included the track, Dean, the 2.3.
Is this the only way to fund sort of these recurring capital expenses that are going to come up? Have we done it differently in the past? It seems like we're adding warrant articles for these, for these funds.
So in the past, Dean, these expenses have occurred and they've been an annual, we have to replace the field, or we have to maintain the solar panels, what have you. And so what the board is trying to do in these last 3 articles is say to the community, we're going to be good stewards of your funds and put money aside so that we can anticipate that this cost is going to be $850,000, and we know it's going to be there. So if we can use funds from the approved budget to put aside for this, then the bump in taxes will be leveled. Otherwise, you'd get spikes every time there was a major expense.
I had another question, but I can't remember, and you guys are probably sick of looking at me anyway, so. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion on Article 6?
Hello, Christian Kuhn, Durham. How much was there in undesignated funds from the past few years in order to put money into this account?
It'll vary year to year. Sometimes the budget is very tight, and when the voters approve a warrant like this, the very first thing that we have to do is honor the voters. So sometimes we are, very close to the money. Other times we may have, $1 million left over or $1.4 million left over. When that happens, we take care of all of these warrants, and then we take that balance and either turn it to the taxpayers or turn it to the taxpayers and do maintenance, or we do maintenance. So when there's a balance, we use it to benefit the taxpayers of the district by maintaining the facilities.
Just maybe to follow up, my understanding, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the first 500,000 of the undesignated balance goes directly back to the town, and so the money that we're talking about for these accounts would have to be above and beyond. So hypothetically, if it comes in at 500,000, there'd be nothing to put into these accounts. So it goes to the towns first.
Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on Article 6? All right. Thanks. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on Article 6. All those in favor of moving Article 6 to the ballot, please raise your voter card. All right, thank you. And anybody opposed to moving Article 6 to the ballot, please raise your voter card now. All right, Article 6 is accepted and moved to the ballot. Next up is Article 7, which will be presented by Denise Day.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to move warrant Article 7. Shall the district establish a non-lapsing athletic field revolving fund in accordance with RSA 194:3-C to be funded by receipts from the use of the district's athletic fields for the purpose of maintaining and replacing the athletic fields. Further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $1. Withdrawals from the revolving fund will be made on an annual basis as needed, and majority vote is required.
All right, we have a motion from Denise Day. Is there a second? Second by Matthew Bacon.
As has been already discussed in warrant Article 7, the funding is different. This would take in fees that we charge to groups for using our fields and take that money and put it into an account which we then would use for the maintenance of the fields. As opposed to as we discussed previously, the replacement of the artificial turf or a big project like that. This would be money that we could use for maintenance of any of our athletic fields and facilities that come up. Any questions?
Any questions or discussion on Article 7? All right, if there are no questions or discussion on Article 7, I'll call for a vote on Article 7. All those in favor of moving Article 7 to the ballot, please raise your voter card. And anybody opposed to moving Article 7 to the ballot, please raise your voter card. Article 7 is accepted and moved to the ballot. I want to thank the staff of the Oyster River Middle School for making this space ready for us tonight. I want to thank the supervisors of the checklist and the ballot clerks for making this run so smoothly, and Wendy DeFruscio for setting everything up for us as well. And most of all, thank you for coming tonight. This is democracy in action. You are the legislative body of the district, and we can't do this without you. So our follow-up to this, the work tonight goes to the ballot on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. Voting will be at... Thank you. So it goes to the ballot Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. And the voting will be in the town of Durham at the Oyster River High School from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., in the town of Lee at the Lee Public Safety Complex from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and in the town of Madbury at the Madbury Town Hall from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I will see you all there. Is there any further business tonight?
John Parsons, Durham. I have two orders of business, actually. First is to ask everybody, as I did last year, I think, look around at this impressive facility and appreciate what we all decided to provide for our kids. And if you haven't seen the rest of the building, you can call 868-2820, and Principal Sully over there will arrange a tour for you. If he's available, he'll even give you a tour himself. That's what I've been told. Second of all, I move we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second from Ms. Selig. All those in favor of adjournment, please raise your voter card. Anybody opposed, raise your voter card. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.